the remnant has been busy building on the wall, right? That's why Nehemiah is there, is to build up the defenses of the wall. And they've been working very, very hard. Okay? So Nehemiah chapter 4, that's where we are tonight. Let's look at it. Verse 1. Now, when Sanballat heard that we were building the wall, he was angry. He was hangry, I heard, and greatly enraged, and he jeered at the Jews. And he said in the presence of his brothers and of the army of Samaria, look at his muscle he's got. Sanballat is with who? The army of Samaria. And this is what they said. What are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore it for themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they finish it up in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of rubbish and burn ones at that? Tobiah then decides he's going to chime in and says, yeah! What are they building? If a fox goes up on it, he will break down their stone wall. The enemy comes and immediately the ministry is attacked. The enemy is coming in and they're coming in hot. What are they saying? What are they saying to the remnant? How would it hit their ears? What did the enemy jeer and mock at the remnant?
You were feeble and couldn't do it.
Feeble. Okay, what else?
This isn't going to work.
It's not going to work. Yep, it's not going to work. What else? It's all going to fall down. If a little fox walked on the top of this wall is so lame. How lame is it? It's so lame that if a little fox walks on top, the whole thing's going to come down, right? You guys stink at this. This wall is stinky, right? And they said, this is the big thing, these stones are burned and rubble. What is the enemy throwing back in the face of the remnant?
When it got burned down.
How did the stones get burned down in rubble? How did it get that way? Because of Babylon, because of their rebellion, right? So the enemy throws it back in their face that these stones are burned. They're charred. It's their past. It's their failure. Right? And they're standing on a redemption foundation. And anytime you're on a redemption foundation means that you're working from a place of needing redemption. Right? And so the enemy is hot. Basically every angle that they could jeer at the remnant, he's coming in. Look at verse 4. Look at how Nehemiah responds. He says, "Hear, O our God, for we are despised. Turn back their taunt on their own heads and give them up to be plundered in a land where they are captives. Do not cover their guilt and do not let their sin be blotted out from your sight, for they have provoked you to anger in the presence of the builders." What's Nehemiah's response? He prays. We talked about this with Nehemiah. He is a prayer warrior. He's always praying. He has this open, genuine communication with the Lord. It's somebody that he checks in with and he has a relationship with that's genuine. He cannot help but always be talking to the Lord. So even with this rubble, with this enemy that's hot on them, Nehemiah's response was to pray to the Lord. Now, notice who he did not talk to. Who did he not talk to? The enemy. He said not one word to the taunters, to the mockers, to the scoffers. He heard this attack coming and he directs a prayer straight up to the Lord. And check this out. He says, "For they have provoked you to anger." Who's the you? The enemy is taunting me, taunting this ministry, taunting this work, right? To rebuild the wall and the defenses. And Nehemiah says, but he's really not taunting me. He's provoking you, which is true, right? He's provoking you. It's such a beautiful response. Look at verse 6. And so he said, we built the wall, and all the wall was joined together to half its height, for the people had a mind to work. They went right back to work. And now the wall is half constructed, right? They got half of the work done. That's pretty good. Half of it is up. They turned back to the work. I love this. Nehemiah gives the taunting to the Lord in prayer and kept working. That's what we need to do. When the enemy is hot on us, because remember, we talked about Nehemiah had that thing burning in his gut, right? To go do this thing for the Lord. And the Lord gave it to him and then equipped him, called him, sent him. He is on kingdom agenda. He is working for the Lord. And then all this opposition and all this animosity is coming towards him. Instead of getting discouraged and instead of pitching a fit to the enemy, to the mockers, he gives it to the Lord and keeps swinging his hammer. I do not do that all the time. I'm not really that good at it. That is such a good example, right? He doesn't even mention them. He doesn't even acknowledge their presence. He prays to the Lord and he keeps working. Look at verse 7. So they get some friends. Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabs and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites. Where did he get all these people? When all of them heard that the repairing of the walls of Jerusalem were going forward and that the breaches were beginning to be closed. That's important. They were, now what are they? Very angry. They're hot. They're wroth is the word in the original language. They're hopping mad. What are they mad about? That the breaches are beginning to close, right? We talked about that. The enemy was coming at Nehemiah because Jerusalem cannot have her defenses up, because once she has her defenses up, she's going to be defensible, right? So they're getting mad because they're watching this rubbled wall go up and the breach is starting to close. Brick by brick by brick by gate, their access to the city is narrowing. So they're getting very, very mad. Now, this Sanballat, Tobiah, Arabs, Ammonites, Ashdodites, and, as we saw in the first verse, the army of Samaria, the idea is that these enemies are coming from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west. They are surrounded now by enemies. Enemies that wouldn't usually work together necessarily, but they have a common enemy. That is the Lord, you see. So they're gathered together and their wrath is intensified. And it says, verse 8, they all plotted together. How many? All. What does all mean? All. Yeah. They all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and to do what? Cause confusion in it. They are all plotting together against the common enemy, the Lord and the remnant. And their tactic is what? Tactic that we see in this verse. What are they going to do? Cause confusion. Mark that. If you don't mark in your Bibles, mark it. They caused confusion. This is key. Confusion of what? Confusion of words. They cause confusion in their thinking. This is a huge tactical army that's coming against the remnant. And the first attack, you guys, is not bows and spears and battering rams. It's words. Confusion. It's the same tactic from the garden. The same one. The definition of confusion in this text means to err, to wander. Okay? That's important. To err, to wander. It's a confusion that causes them to err. It takes them off course. It has them wandering from the project, wanting them to drop the hammer again and walk away from the wall. Wait, they're thinking with this confusion. Is that the Lord saying that? Or is that the enemy trying to confuse me and they're trying to vet it out, you see? They're trying to make sense of it. Now they will hesitate to swing the hammer because they're confused. And that confusion can cause you to err or wander, as in the project can be left undone because you're unsure now. You're not sure. Now, what did the Lord say? Wait, what did he say? What did he say the first time? What am I hearing now? Is this the enemy or the Lord? And it caused confusion within the remnant. Now, remember the mockery from the first couple verses. Will they restore it? Will they sacrifice? Are they going to finish it up in the day? These stones, they're all burned. Yeah, it's not even strong enough to hold a fox. Remember all that? These words, these tauntings would be swirling around in their mind, and it unsettles your heart. It's a reminder of past failures and past experiences that now are muddling up what the Lord said. It's causing confusion. It's whispers in the garden. It's a snake in the grass. It's a tactic of the enemy, and he's good at it. Oof. Okay, hold on to that because we're going to come back to that. Okay, tactic number 1 was what? Confusion, right? Words. They're all messed up now in the head, trying to figure out what is the Lord and what is the enemy. In the realm of kingdom work, the Lord clearly told you to do this. Now they're not sure, you see, and it's a tactic. Now, verse 9, check this out. Verse 9, how are they going to respond to this? They all plotted together. It's caused confusion. Verse 9, and so Nehemiah does what? Praise. He prays to our God and set a guard to do what? As protection against them day and night. This time it wasn't just pray and keep working. It was pray and act. It's different. It's pray and act, to set a guard. Listen, the only way to combat the tactic of twisted words and confusion and doubt is to bring your sword. That's it. That's all you got. The only way to combat the enemy who's trying to twist you up on the inside is your sword. That's all we have. It's all you need. But you have to have it. So this time he's not only praying, but he's setting a guard of protection. He is planting swords at the ready. You see the word. Nehemiah set a guard of the people, fellow workers, to stand with the workers with weapons, with swords. You see, that's how you combat it. Look at verse 10. Check this out. It's almost like a proverb. In Judah, it is said, now listen to these really closely, because here comes 3 attacks and they're different. The first one comes from Judah themselves, the remnant, internal, what they're saying to each other. In Judah it is said, the strength of those who bear the burdens is failing. There is too much rubble. By ourselves, we will not be able to rebuild this wall. We are tired. The strength of the ones who bear the burdens are failing. You see, the ones that are doing the kingdom work, we are tired, the remnant says. It's failing. Now look at the second one. And our enemies said, where is this attack coming from? The enemy, right? First it was themselves. Now the enemy is saying what? They will not know or see till we come among them and kill them and stop the work. We're just going to sneak attack them. They're going to go down. You see. Third is what? Who's going to speak now? The Jews that live near. So they're not the ones on the walls, but they're the ones that are part of their family, but on the outskirts of the work, right? They say, just come home. Why are you working? Why are you killing yourself on this? Just let it go. Drop your hammer. Come home. The barbecue's hot. The sprinklers are on. The kids are out. They say, just come home. It says 10 times. Just come home. You see. Do you see the war that's raging? The war is raging. And war rung loud in the remnant's ears. Their nerves are frayed. Their muscles are tired. The enemy is relentless. They're not tired. They were buffeted on every side, combating all kinds of attacks. Attacks that are physical, attacks that are spiritual, attacks that are personal, and all at the same time. Physically, they're tired. Judah said it's too much. It's physically too much. Spiritually, the enemy is like, we'll just wait and kill them later. Personally, their family, their friends, the ones that love them the most are like, just stop. And it's all at the same time. 3 attacks, shots fired. How hard would it be to keep going with that kind of opposition? Inside, outside, all around, physical, spiritual, personal. Every attack on every side was coming at them. And the remnant grew weary and well-doing because, y'all, newsflash, war is hard. It is. Ever feel like you're the enemy's target practice? Almost like there's these diverse, synchronized attacks. Physical, spiritual, internal, external, personal, all these attacks all at once. Why is that? Because you're at war. Remember the horse gate? Remember how we talked about the horse gate is the last stop on a Christian's life? Because you don't ever leave the horse gate. It's spiritual war until you go to see Jesus. That's why. We are a house full of mature saints. I'm looking around. Mature saints, which means we have all been at the horse gate. We've done the whole thing. We're at war, y'all. That's what this room is. It's a war room. We are at war. That's true. Now, why are we at war? Because you switched teams. That's why. You switched teams. It says he has delivered us from what? the domain of darkness and transferred us to what? The kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. What does this verse tell us? It tells us that every soul belongs to the domain of darkness until you are snatched out. That's the gospel. You are all on the dark team until you get saved. And when you get saved, you get transferred from the domain of darkness into the kingdom of light. You switch teams. For at one time, you were... Now check out this verse. This verse is one that you want to put extra words into. Because what you want to say, for one time you were in darkness. No. You were dark. Your identity. You were darkness. But now you are light in the Lord. You were darkness, now you are light, the light of the world. Belong to the light of the world. You are light, so walk as children with your light switch flipped on. That's what Paul says. Walk as children of light. But you were this is my favorite verse, chosen race. This is Peter, by the way. I love Peter, as you might guess. A holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness and into his marvelous light. You see. You are now a holy race, a people. You literally are on a different team, in a different kingdom. That's why you're at war, you see. You jumped the fence from dark to light. That's what the word tells us. You were on Jesus' team now, you see. And if you're on Jesus' team, you're on the opposing team from our enemy, you see. And his whole job is to take the opposing team out. And if you're on it, this is easy math. If you're on the opposing team, plus he wants to take the team out, equals war. That's what it is. And guess what? Satan never has a very good day. He doesn't wake up and he's like, man, I'm feeling good today. Feeling kind, helpful. I just think I'm just going to leave them alone today. No, he doesn't. You, soldier, are at war in the army of the Lord of hosts. It's not an option. You just are. You see. And you will remain at war until we go home. That's the truth. And when, check it, it's going to get prickly tonight. That's why my stuff doesn't work. And when, you guys, the enemy picks his target, he looks for those who are seeking the welfare of the kingdom. That's what it says about Nehemiah, that he was seeking the welfare of the city, and that's why the enemy came. His target is to look for those who are seeking the welfare of the kingdom, you see. Is that you? Then you're a threat. Here's a prickly exhortation for you. Has it been a while since you felt like you're at war? Has it been easy breezy lately? If you're not feeling the warfare, you may not be on the wall. That's kingdom math. It's not popular. I don't really care. It's true. If you are not working for the kingdom, you are not his target. He is happy with that. You see, if you're not feeling the angst of war, it may be that for a minute you've been tired and you've dropped the hammer. You see, those on the wall swinging the hammers will feel the opposition. It's just math. You see, the kingdom is attacking kingdom work, the kingdom of darkness. So, are you kingdom relevant? I'm looking around this room. The answer is yes. That's why this is a war room tonight. Are you working on the wall? Y'all in some sort of a ministry, doing something for Jesus? Anything? Then you're on the wall. If you're on the wall, you have a bullseye painted on your forehead. That's true. It's just true. So what do? We keep our eyes on Jesus and we keep going. We keep building. But the remnant says, the work is great and the bearer burdens are few. Does anyone feel that way? Where are all the helpers? There is a lot of work to do for the kingdom. The remnant's like, we can't do all this by ourselves. You see? They're weary. Judah said, it's too hard. It's too much. We have nothing left. Now, ding, ding, ding. That's exactly what the enemy was waiting for. Fatigue. Aha. He watches for that. Now, how will Nehemiah respond to this? Remember, Judah said, the enemy said, the neighbor said, right? 3 different attacks coming at them, shots fired. Nehemiah is going to respond. How is he going to respond to this wearied, war-torn, bruised, and battered remnant who is sticking it out no matter what? Even if they've got a leg blown off and, they're bleeding everywhere and they kind of drag themselves to work, they're going to do it. They're not looking pretty, but they're going to do it. And they're on the wall and they're sticking faithful to the kingdom and they're shoring up the defenses. What is Nehemiah going to say? Look at verse 13. So, in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall, in open places, I have that marked. What did he say? I stationed the people by their clans with swords and spears and bows in the weakest places of the walls, the places that are open still, where there's still a breach in the wall, where there's fatigued, vulnerable people. That is where I'm going, Nehemiah said. Now, this is what he does. If one section of the wall is vulnerable, is weak. Remember, you're talking a 360 all the way around this city, right? If one section of the wall is weak, the entire city is in jeopardy. It takes one man-sized breach, and he's in. Right? So in the open places, Nehemiah is going to shore them up. If one soldier is wearied from swinging the hammer and wielding the sword, it leaves the whole army vulnerable to attack. So what does he do? He reinforces the open places, the breaches in the wall. How? How did he do it? He buoyed up the weakest warriors with backup. Right? The weakest warriors that are wearied the most, he sends them backup. more soldiers, more armor, more swords, more bows, and he places them in the weakest places and says, stay here. Protect that soldier. You stay watch. They're going to keep working. You watch their 6. Nehemiah would not, no way, leave one soldier vulnerable. No way. Not on his watch. Every single soldier was important. Every single soldier needed to be up and wielding the sword. Even if it was duct taped to their arm, they're going to be armed. And if they need help, he would send it. Not one was going down. Because if one goes down, they all go down. Nehemiah knew this. He's a good leader, you see. So he walked the wall, the 360, all the way around, and he's checking on soldiers, and he's bringing in backup, and he's bringing in more help, and he's bringing in swords and bows and all this stuff, all the weapons necessary, because, y'all, warfare is hard. It's true. It's hard. The remnant was assaulted on every side with relentless frequency. There was no stop. And it came from everywhere. Internal, external, physical, spiritual, personal, armies, hordes, Philistines, Arabs. Everybody was coming at them at once. And it wearied them out. Is that okay to say? I'm tired. It's okay to say that. They're bone weary with the kind of exhaustion that crumples you on the floor in a crying, snotty heap. You know, like the ugly cry. It's true. They're tired. Here's the thing, though. Nehemiah knows that's exactly what the enemy is watching for, and it's exactly when he will strike. When there is fatigue, when there is vulnerable soldiers, when there's open places, when you are collapsed prey. It's true. And if you go down, your neighbor is vulnerable. Think about the wall. They were stationed all the way around. If this group, Team 1, goes down in weariness and the army is coming to try to breach through that, your immediate neighbors are also in trouble. You see. Now, the war room. Let's go there. Let's think about it. Remember the walls. It's 360 all the way around, right? And the walls are... they're going up. They're halfway up. They're not quite all the way up, but there's teams stationed all the way around, right? Now, if Team 1 gets weary, not only is the city breached, but the soldiers around them also go down. That's so important. That's why I'm going to keep saying it. The soldiers also are vulnerable. Sometimes you are the prey. You are the name on the pin board in the enemy's war room. You are. Bev. Sorry, picking on you. Jan. Sam. Like, you are the name, right? And the attack is a direct hit. Sometimes that's true. But sometimes you are the one he's going through to get to someone else because you're tired and she's on the war room wall. Sometimes the ones he's after is your kids and your husband and your marriage and your ministry. Sometimes it's your house. But you're tired, so you're the easy way through. Sometimes you're not the name. You're just the breach. It's true. And in your fatigue and your weariness, you are an easy attack. Our enemy doesn't like to exert a lot of energy. He's not very, diverse. We've seen that. He's used the same 3 tactics since Genesis. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's like, man, we should be picking this up by now. No, we're not picking it up. But he's like, man, these 5 arrows work every single time. You know what else he is lazy. He's not going to go for the one that's freshened up and just off of leave, and they're like, ugh, with all their swords and everything. He's not going to do that. He's going to go to the one that's been there for 48 hours straight and could barely stand up. That's who he's going for. You see, Nehemiah knows this. We're learning from Nehemiah. He is a radical leader. He's a prayer warrior and he's smart. That's why I like to watch him. You see. So in the open places, he stationed people with swords and spears and bows in the open places that are vulnerable to attack. He's going for the most wearied soldier. Now, here's the thing. Station by station by station, he walked around the wall and he held the face of the mother and the father and the grandmother and the friend, and he's holding their face, and he says, verse 14, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight. Remember the Lord and fight. Give it everything you got. And he's going station by station by station. Remember the Lord and fight. Fight for your family. Fight for your son. Fight for your daughter. Fight for your spouse. Fight for your home. Fight for your kids. Fight for your ministry. You fight, he says. Remember the Lord and fight. Don't give up. Fight it out, he says. Don't be afraid of them. Fight. And from that day on, it says, check this out. When our enemies heard that it was known to us, verse 15, that God had frustrated their plan. Why is their plan frustrated? Because the remnant would not stop. They were going to work. They were going to fight. So his plan failed because Nehemiah had shored up the weak places. He couldn't get in. When all that happened, we all returned. How many? All. How many is all? All. How many? All of them returned to the wall, each to his own work. Same word. Everybody went back. Everyone is back at work. From that day on, every day on, all the time, the entire remnant was on that wall. They were on the kingdom project. It was hard. It was war. It was sweat. It was blood. It was tears. They're doing it. You see. From that day on, verse 16, half of my servants worked on construction, swinging the hammer, putting in the nails, putting the bricks up, whatever it is, right? And half of my servants did what? Held the spears and the shields and the bows and the coat of mail, and the leaders stood behind the whole house. Some were only hammering. Some were standing watch. Everybody was at their post. You see. At different times and in different seasons, you may be wielding the hammer, literally wielding the hammer, and sometimes you are the one standing guard. All of us need to be there. No one is idle, all are armed. No one is idle, all are armed. All of them. They all worked, every single one, and they are armed. Now, everyone had a sharpened sword strapped to their side. Whether you were hammering or guarding, everybody had a weapon. Look at this, verse 17. Those who carried the burdens, those are the ones that are swinging hammers, right? The actual workers. Those who carry the burdens were loaded in such a way, check this out. Don't read this too fast. Everybody who's swinging the hammer, bearing the burdens, were loaded in such a way that each labored on the work with one hand and held his weapon in the other. All are armed. All of them are armed. Check this out. Each builder, verse 18, had his sword strapped at his side while he built. How many builders did? All of them. Which means if you're not on guard, you still have your weapon. All of them had their sword. And check this out. Everybody's burden, what the Lord called them to do while they're hammering, while they're working, was prioritized so that you could always have a sword in your hand. You must always be armed with what? The word. The priority was the weapon. Y'all, it's prickly. The priority was the weapon. Then the burden was added. Everybody was loaded down in a way that their sword was never out of their hand. So if you could only carry 20 pounds with your sword, that was your burden. If you could only swing this much with your hammer, that was your burden, because what was not an option was that you were on the war without a weapon. That's stupid. You're at war. It matters less that you can carry 50 pounds of bricks versus 20 if it means putting your sword down. You're dead meat. Who cares? They were loaded in such a way that they could hold their weapon. There was no excuse. There was no exception. It was that important. If you are loaded, y'all, with the burden of what you do in your day that's so heavy that you cannot wield your sword, reprioritize your whole life. You are at war. I'm sorry, you are. If you cannot find time to pick up your sword in the day, something is wrong. You're a soldier at war. If you can't defend yourself, you leave everybody else vulnerable. This is Nehemiah chapter 4, you see. You cannot forsake your sword. You can't leave your sword at home, and you can't fall out of practice. And you can't let your blade get dull. This is Thursday night, and we're in a war room, and everybody has their sword. So y'all just pass this on. You can't let your sword get dull. Question, what was the enemy's first attack again? Confusion. How do you fight confusion? With your sword. Remember? He prayed and then set a guard. Everybody got their weapons out. Confusion, twisted words, doubt, all that's going on in your head. The word. How do you know if what you're hearing in your head is true or not? The word. My sheep hear my voice and know me. John chapter 10 said. The word is alive and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, able to divide, right, between bone and marrow, spirit and whatever it is. I don't have it in front of me. That's what we need. You can have a very sharp sword, though, and not know how to use it. This is pretty. I have no idea how to do it, how to wield it, how to swing it. You have to know what's in there. You guys, this is easy math. You have to know what's in it. You have to know how to use it. So a soldier always had it with them, and he's trained to use it. He never left it at home. He knew how to use it. He's got to be able to defend the army, the soldiers that are weary. It doesn't matter what you're doing, at home, at work, at church, the grocery store, you have to have your sword. You have to have it at the ready. The enemy's out there. He's everywhere. He's in the bread aisle, for sure. I know that because I'm not allowed to eat it. It's like forbidden fruit. For sure he's there. He's in the bakery, he's everywhere. You can't fight without your weapon. Ephesians 6 gives us a whole beautiful list of our armor, but we only have 2 weapons of offense. Everything else is defensive. To be able to guard yourself against the attacks coming at you, only 2 things are offensive. What are they? Sword and prayer. Prayer is that long-range artillery that you can fling out there, right? Give all your battleground a chance. You bathe that thing in prayer. Your sword is hand-to-hand combat. That's all we have. That's all you need. That's all Nehemiah used. He prayed, he got swords. That's it. That's all you need, you see. How many soldiers do you know around you who cannot wield their sword? We're all soldiers. If you're believers in Jesus, you are in the army. How many soldiers do you know cannot wield their sword? We have got to encourage soldiers to pick up their sword. We need them. You see, the enemy, he looks for weak places. He looks for the unarmed. Encourage your soldier friends. Hey, dude. Do you know how to use this? Do you know what's in here? Because tactic number 1, hands down, from the garden is to twist the word. Took the world down. It's going to take the world down again. It is taking the world down. You have to know it. It's another commercial to stick your face in your Bible. It's like a broken record. I don't care. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter how long you've been saved. If you're new to Christ or you've been a pastor for 40 years, it doesn't matter. You have to have your sword. You're in the army. It is amazing to me how many people go to church without their Bibles. I just don't even get that. If that's you, please stop doing that. Bring your sword to church. At least. You know what I'm saying? At least. It's like going to school without pants. You have to have your sword. Okay, verse 18. Check this out. We already read that. No, verse 18. Oh, man, this is the good part. The man, we haven't even started yet. The man, check this out. I have this marked like 80, so much I can't even read it. The man who sounded the trumpet was beside me. Nehemiah had a guy follow him around with the shofar. As he was touring around the wall, he had a guy with a trumpet. Look at verse 19. And I said to the nobles and to the officials and to the rest of the people, listen, y'all, this is station by station by station. The work is great and widely spread out. 360, right? All the way around the city. The work is great. It's widely spread out, and we are separated on the wall far from each other. That's a problem. It's necessary. But you got all these soldiers that are spread out all the way around the wall, right? Has the trumpet, right? He's following Nehemiah around. Now, let's visualize this for a minute. If you were on the far north side of the city, you're way over here. And you guys are way over there. The work is spread out, right? And we are all stationed all the way around the wall. What does Nehemiah say? Listen, it's all spread out. It's everywhere. You got people over there. You got people over there. Everybody is at war and all spread out. You are a long way from each other. We are separated, he says. On the wall, we're spread out too far from each other. And so, verse 20, what is the solution? In the place where you hear the sound of the trumpet, rally there. In the place where you hear the trumpet blow, rally there, and our God will fight for us. Right? That's what he says. If you need us, if you're over here on the north side and we're working and we're fighting and we're warring and we're doing all this stuff and we're over here and we can't even see you guys over there, he says, listen, if you guys need us, blow the trumpet and we will rally to you there. The ones nearest to you will rally to you. To do what? To fight for you. But we can't know way over here that you're in trouble unless if you blow the trumpet. If there is war way over here and poor Rose is by herself, I don't know why, but she is. She's all by herself. Here's the thing, y'all.
Got your back.
Here's the thing. Even the best soldier, armed up to his eyeballs, and his sword is like a Navy SEAL, okay? His sword is sharp. If he is alone and weary, it doesn't matter how prepared he is against 100 Syrian, Sumerian, Philistine army. Does it? She's got to blow a trumpet. She's in an ambush now. She has to blow a trumpet. She's being ambushed by the enemy. It doesn't really matter. You can do all the things. War's still coming to you. And there's an ambush. That's what Nehemiah is saying. You have to blow the trumpet and let us rally to you there. That's hard to do. We're really bad at that. War room, soldiers, we're really bad at that. We are especially the ones in this room. Why? We wield our sword. We can fight and hammer. Our burdens are exactly loaded, right? Until 500 army come your way. You see? We have to blow the trumpet when we're in trouble. Whoever is closest, Nehemiah says, rally there. Wherever the trumpet blows, rally to that place. At no time does Nehemiah say, well, good luck. Hope your day's good. Suck it up, kind of. Get your hammer, get your sword, suck it up. You're on your own. No! He never says that. He never says good luck, does he? He goes through great pains to make sure that everyone is up, everyone is working, everyone has their sword, and everyone is protected. And if you need help, blow the trumpet. You see, that's what he said. That's the truth. Why? Why do we need to blow the trumpet? Real easy. We don't know you're drowning. We can't see you from over there to over there. We would, but we don't know. Here's the truth. Every single station of soldiers were at war themselves. We're protecting their own ground. We're swinging hammers and wielding swords. They were too. They've got their head in the game. Nehemiah says, you have to let somebody know so that they can rally to you, because everybody's at war. Right? Everybody is at war. We forget in battle that one of our greatest defensive weapons is each other. That's how the Lord designed us as the body of Christ. We are a temple that's knit together. We are living stones knit together. We are all in this army together. We are all the bride of Christ, and we forget to call on each other for help. We think we can do it by ourselves. But if you go down, we all go down. That's how it works. If one body part is sick or not working, the whole body suffers. So Paul said. So Nehemiah stands in the midst of the remnant and he says, you have to blow a trumpet. You have to let us rally to you. Soldier, are you in an ambush? Are you at war that's too much? Is there something, an attack going on that you're trying to struggle through yourself? You have to blow a trumpet. You have to let us know. We will rally to you. Soldier, are you feeling tonight extra buoyed up and refreshed and ready for war? You are back up. When you hear a trumpet, you rally. Here's the thing. One day you may be the Navy SEAL under attack that is saying, help me, blowing a trumpet. And your sister is going to come to your aid. She will. And she's going to pray for you, and she's going to bolster you up, and she's going to encourage you, and she's going to watch your six. Because today she's strong. Tomorrow she's under attack, and you're going to rally to her. And you're going to buoy her up, and you're going to pray for her, and you're going to watch her six. That's how it works. There is no shame in saying, help me. Because here's the thing, if you love Jesus and you're doing kingdom work, you're at war. That's what Nehemiah is telling the remnant. Nobody's going down on my watch. Nobody's going down. But it takes participation. You have to blow the trumpet. You have to tell us, you see. That is what Nehemiah 4 is about. We're going to close in a worship song, and then we're going to do the word. Yeah, right now. We're in Nehemiah 4. We're going to do Nehemiah 4. How does that sound? Tonight, before you go back out to war, you are in a safe haven right here with a bunch of soldiers who want to pray with you if you would just blow the trumpet. Don't go back out there without getting buoyed up and getting some backup. If you hear a trumpet blow, if somebody next to you raises their hands or stands up and starts yelling, that's fine too. Help me! That's fine. You can do that. And you hear it and you're next to it, you are backup. Rally there and pray for her. There is no chance in this room that someone does not need prayer. That is not a thing. It takes bravery, though. It takes a little swallowing of pride. It's a little humiliating. Don't let the enemy do that. There is no shame in saying, I am at war. I've been on the clock for days and days, and I'm tired, and I feel vulnerable. Raise your hand. Stand up. Do a jumping jack. I don't care. We're coming at you. And next week, when the one who prayed for you is like, help me, you're going to be ready because you were buoyed out today and you were strengthened. Listen, a lot of times in the Word, the Lord comes in and He's the warrior all by Himself. He fights those battles all by Himself. No one has to do anything, right? Those like miraculous ones, and you're like, get him! You know, while you're standing on the sideline, get him. That's not Nehemiah 4. Nehemiah 4 is full blood, sweat, tears, participation. That's needful too. Just the reminder that we are at war is important.